Act 1. Discovery. The twin suns of Iridian 7 dipped below the horizon, casting long orange shadows across the endless dunes. Caleb Wren, a solitary farmer, wiped the sweat from his brow as he adjusted the drip-feed lines on his hydroponic crops. His small settlement, a cluster of metal domes barely holding against the sandstorms, had been home for decades. No visitors, no disturbances, just the wind and the quiet hum of life support. He leaned on his spade and scanned the horizon. That was when he saw it, a glint half buried beneath the shifting sands. Caleb's brow furrowed. Nothing man-made had come to this part of the planet in decades. With careful steps, he approached, brushing away layers of dust, until he uncovered a sleek, metallic pod, ancient and humming, faintly with residual energy. It was cylindrical, its surface etched with symbols he didn't recognize. Caleb traced his fingers over them. The metal was surprisingly smooth, yet there was a sense of weight, of something alive beneath the shell. "This isn't from any ship I've ever seen," he muttered to himself. He hesitated, unsure whether to touch it, yet curiosity outweighed caution. He pried open a small hatch on the pod. Frost and mist poured out, and the interior glow revealed the occupant. A humanoid figure, or something close to it, frozen in suspended animation. Its features were alien, elongated, with subtle bioluminescent veins trace as patterns across its skin. Caleb swallowed hard. First contact days passed as Caleb studied the pod. Using old manuals and salvage tech, he managed to stabilize the life support system. With a hesitant breath, he activated the unfreezing sequence. The occupant stirred, eyes opening slowly, an unearthly shade of violet that seemed to pierce Caleb's very soul. The creature's gaze was intelligent, calculating, aware. Caleb stumbled back. You're awake?" he said quietly, unsure if it could understand him. The alien's eyes flicked toward him, and then a subtle vibration ran through the pod, almost like a low hum of acknowledgement. Caleb realized it was alive, sentient, and potentially dangerous. The holographic interface on the pod flickered to life, displaying fragmented records of its origin. Caleb read, "Project Zelthar, Exile Entity, Galaxy-wide containment." His stomach churned. The galaxy had feared this being. Act 2. Awakening. The first night after unfreezing was tense. Caleb tried to communicate, pointing at objects, showing gestures. The creature responded in kind, subtle nods, mirrored movements, the faintest hint of understanding. Over hours, a fragile trust formed between farmer and alien. But peace did not last. The pod emitted a pulse that triggered nearby sensors, alerting distant scavengers and remnants of galactic patrols. Unknown to Caleb, word of the pod's activation spread across the sector. When the first hovercraft approached, Caleb barely had time to react. Dust swirled as a group of armed figures disembarked, weapons raised. "Step away from the pod," one shouted in a grating mechanical voice. Caleb backed up, hands raised. It's alive. You don't understand." A flash of light, and the alien's latent energy surged for the first time. Machines sparked, sand whipped into violent storms, and the attackers froze in shock. Caleb watched as the being moved with uncanny speed, protecting the pod, yet leaving no fatal harm. He realized then the truth. This was no ordinary life form. It was a force the galaxy feared, and it had chosen him as its guardian. Act 3. Escalation. The horizon burned with orange light as distant ships descended from the sky. Caleb's heart pounded, but he felt a strange calm. He had Thar-El by his side. The alien's bioluminescent veins glowed faintly, pulsing in rhythm with the energy that now hummed across the dunes. The first wave of attackers landed. Their boots kicked up dust, weapons scanning, drones hovering above. "Step aside, human," one barked. "The entity belongs to the Galactic High Command." Caleb held his ground. "It's not theirs," he shouted, motioning to Thar-El. With a subtle motion, Thar-El unleashed a wave of energy that bent light and air, creating a protective shield around Caleb and the pod. Drones sputtered and fell. Scanners went haywire. The attackers froze, fear flashing across their faces. For the first time, Caleb realized the scale of what he protected, a being that could warp the battlefield, control technology, and defend itself with near-limitless power. Yet it had chosen him. The humans regrouped, firing from a distance, but Caleb used the terrain to his advantage. Sandstorms whipped up at his command, courtesy of Thar-El's energy manipulation, creating confusion. Using salvage tech and his own ingenuity, Caleb created traps, rerouted power grids, and set up decoys. By dawn, the first assault was repelled. Caleb was exhausted, covered in dust and sweat, but Thar-El's eyes met his, a silent reassurance. They had survived. Act 4, Revelation. The night after the battle, Caleb reviewed ancient archives stored in Thar-El's pod. He discovered the alien's origin. It was not just a creature, but a biosynthetic hybrid, engineered eons ago to defend against a galactic threat. Its powers were restrained by containment fields, which explained the fear it had inspired across civilizations. "You were never meant to be feared," Caleb whispered, reading the logs aloud. "You were meant to protect, to survive." Thar-El responded with a subtle pulse, a form of communication they had been refining. It seemed to understand, its violet eyes softening. The revelation brought clarity. The galaxy had misunderstood Thar-El's existence. Its destructive potential was real, but it was not malicious. It simply had been feared because no one had taken the time to understand it. Act 4. Revelation. The night after the battle, Caleb reviewed ancient archives stored in Thar-El's pod. He discovered the alien's origin. It was not just a creature, but a biosynthetic hybrid, engineered eons ago to defend against a galactic threat. Its powers were restrained by containment fields, which explained the fear it had inspired across civilizations. "You were never meant to be feared," Caleb whispered, reading the logs aloud. "You were meant to protect, to survive." Thar-El responded with a subtle pulse, a form of communication they had been refining. It seemed to understand, its violet eyes softening. The revelation brought clarity. The galaxy had misunderstood Thar-El's existence. Its destructive potential was real, but it was not malicious. It simply had been feared because no one had taken the time to understand it. The moral dilemma. A fleet appeared on the horizon, larger, more organized, sent by the Galactic Council. They demanded the surrender of Thar-El, threatening to destroy Caleb's settlement if he refused. Caleb's mind raced. Could he let the creature go? Could he trust that they wouldn't exploit it, enslave it, or destroy it out of fear? "No," he muttered, "I won't let them hurt it." Not after everything. That night, he prepared for a final defense. Using both Thar-El's powers and his human ingenuity, he set traps, reinforced barriers, and devised strategies that leveraged terrain, energy manipulation, and the alien's abilities. Act 5. The Final Stand and Resolution. The Galactic Fleet arrived at dawn. Beams of light cut through the early morning haze, and massive ships hovered above the desert. The human soldiers advanced. Caleb, standing beside Tharael, felt the weight of responsibility settle on his shoulders. "Ready?" he asked. Tharael's eyes glowed. A soft hum emanated from the alien, the very ground vibrating beneath them. The battle erupted. Energy pulses tore through the air, sandstorms raged, and metal clashed against light shields. Caleb directed operations, coordinating with Tharael's abilities in perfect synchrony. Their bond, human intuition and alien power, turned the tide. Ships were disabled without fatalities, drones fell in sparks of failure, and the Galactic soldiers found themselves outmaneuvered by a simple farmer and an alien they feared. Caleb realized as he looked at Tharael that this was not just survival. It was justice. The galaxy had judged too quickly. When the last ship retreated, Caleb and Tharael stood among the dunes. The desert was quiet again, only the hum of life and energy from the alien filling the air. "You've done well," Caleb said softly. Tharael responded with a low, harmonic pulse, its version of a nod. Epilogue: A New Journey. Weeks later, Caleb and Tharael repaired a long-abandoned shuttle. The galaxy still feared the alien, and the pair knew they could not remain on Iridian 7 forever. Before departure, Caleb gazed at the twin sun setting. "We're not just surviving," he said. "We're starting something new." Tharael pulsed, lights reflecting off its skin, and the pod systems hummed with recognition. Together, they lifted off, leaving the desert behind, venturing into the stars. The galaxy would remember them, not as monsters, not as heroes, but as a partnership forged in trust, courage, and understanding. The lonely human farmer had found a being the galaxy feared, and together they had changed the course of destiny.